know, that Tank is over. He had the lessons, getting his lessons of what he got to do to take us the rest of the way.
The night Gervonta Davis faced Lamont Roach was supposed to be just another dominant performance, but instead, it became one of the most chaotic moments of his career. His corner was in complete disarray. Confusion, frustration, and outright defiance unfolded in a way that had fans questioning what was really happening behind the scenes. Now, Davis's longtime trainer, Calvin Ford, has broken his silence, shedding light on the confusion inside the corner.
Y'all with me? And it was good for us to tell you the truth, because when I stepped back in the head biggest game and I haven't been there, it brought back so much memory.
And according to Ford, the mayhem wasn't just an accident. It was triggered by an unexpected and highly questionable request from Davis himself. It was eerily reminiscent of the dysfunction seen in Tyson Fury's corner during his first undisputed World Heavyweight Championship match against Alexander Usyk, while Fury remained composed. The tension boiled over as his father, John Fury, overpowered the voices of trainers Andy Lee and Sugar Hill Stewart. That miscommunication led to crucial mistakes, and ultimately, Fury's loss. But Tank's situation was even more bizarre because this time, the chaos wasn't coming from the trainers, it was coming from the fighter. Ford, still visibly unsettled, explained, "We put in a lot of work, and he's a champion. I want the best for him, but I need him to do what I ask. That's why I asked him, are you ready? Because when you step into that ring, I need a fighter who's locked in, not someone questioning the game plan."
We looked at 3 rounds. Barry was called out, yo, I need 3. We got 1. I need 2. He got the 2. But he forgot where he was at. He thought he was still in the 8th round.
Davis, who had built his career on explosive finishes, suddenly found himself in unfamiliar territory. The fight wasn't going the way he expected. Lamont Roach was proving to be more resilient than anticipated, and for only the 3rd time in his professional career, Davis was looking at the very real possibility of hearing the final bell. Instead of adjusting and listening to his corner, Davis did something uncharacteristic. He argued. As his trainers attempted to give instructions, he forcefully pushed back, raising his voice and demanding, "Listen to me." His frustration was clear, but so was the growing concern among his team.
He thought he still had rounds to go.
Thought he still had rounds to go.
Thought he was in the 8th round. He was good. We just couldn't figure out why he wouldn't pick it up.
Ford elaborated, "I can see different levels. This time, I had a chance to step back. People keep saying we changed something, but we didn't. It's the same thing. The only difference was how it played out in that moment." For a fighter who had made a career out of finishing opponents between the 7th and 9th rounds, struggling against Roach was not just unusual, it was alarming. Davis wasn't in control. Roach was fighting back with confidence, and for the first time in a long time, Tank's aura of dominance seemed to crack. His team followed his emotional lead, and the result was disastrous. The confusion in his corner wasn't just bad optics. It may have had real consequences. With the fight ending in a controversial draw, Davis now faces an even bigger threat, the possibility of that decision being overturned. At first, his trainers chose to remain tight-lipped about the heated moments inside the corner, insisting that everything would be worked out behind the scenes.
See Tank to do what he wanted to do. I said at the last press conference. Y'all gotta understand, them guys been doing this since they were little. This might energize the beginning.
But now, with the fight's outcome under review, the tension has only escalated. Ford, always a no-nonsense presence in Davis's career, didn't sugarcoat the situation. "I don't just like knockouts, I like punishment," he said bluntly. "Sometimes, things have to happen to remind you where you belong." A cryptic statement, but one that raises an important question. Was this fight the wake-up call Gervonta Davis needed? Or is this just the beginning of a much bigger problem? One thing is certain, his next move will define the trajectory of his career. It was supposed to be just another night of dominance for Gervonta Davis. When the fight with Lamont Roach was first announced, Team Davis barely blinked. There was no talk of an upset, no sense of danger, just another title defense, another opponent to add to the highlight reel. Roach, while a skilled boxer with a respectable record, was seen as the smaller man, both in size and in name value. He was the underdog in every sense, but from the moment the opening bell rang, it was clear that Roach had come with something different.
He clearly in there, man. I thought I won. I thought I did enough to get the victory over a spectacular fighter. I told y'all from the beginning, man, that I got the skills to pay the bills. I've been telling y'all that.
He wasn't intimidated. He wasn't just there to survive. He fought with the confidence of a man who had everything to gain and nothing to lose. Roach started strong, using his reach and footwork to keep Davis at bay. His jab was sharp, his movement was fluid, and his strategy was disciplined. When Davis tried to close the distance and impose his power, Roach didn't panic. Instead, he showed his adaptability, countering on the inside and refusing to let Davis dictate the pace. Round after round, the fight remained competitive. The Brooklyn crowd at Barclays Center, expecting another explosive Davis knockout, found themselves witnessing something far more compelling, an evenly matched chess match between two elite fighters. By the final round, tension filled the arena. The fight had been razor close, and no one in attendance could confidently say who had won. The bell rang, ending 12 rounds of non-stop action. As the fighters returned to their corners, Team Davis remained composed, but there was an air of unease. They had expected dominance. Instead, they were left wondering if their man had done enough. Then came the moment of truth. The ring announcer stepped forward, the scorecards in hand. The first score, 115-113 for Davis. The second, 114-114. The third, 114-114. A majority draw.
And I'm just glad I got to show it, honestly. I'm glad I got to show it. I appreciate, like I said before, I appreciate true boxing media. Some guys that didn't count me out. So that's just how I feel, man. I think I won. And
for the first time in his professional career, Gervonta Davis walked out of the ring without a victory. His team's expressions quickly shifted from quiet confidence to shock. The smiles faded. Barry Hunter, a key figure in Davis's corner, shook his head in disapproval. He believed they had done enough to win. It was a skillful fight, Hunter told reporters. Both fighters took chances. It felt like we were on a boat rocking back and forth. While Davis remained stoic, the frustration was evident. The draw was a blemish on his undefeated record, and more importantly, it left his future uncertain. Backstage, the tension was palpable. Hunter, who had taken on a leading role in the corner that night, was adamant that the decision was wrong. Though he admitted Davis had been in a tough fight, he believed Tank had pulled away in the championship rounds. "We take our hats off to the other side," Hunter told ESPN. "But I thought the last 2 rounds sealed the deal. I thought we pulled it off." Not everyone saw it that way.
Mark, a very skillful fighter. He can fight, he's from the area. In that DMV area, there's a lot of talent.
Many in the boxing community believed that Davis should have outright lost. Some pointed to the 9th round, where Davis took a knee after a body shot, a moment that could have been ruled a knockdown by referee Steve Willis. That single decision could have altered the scorecards entirely, turning the draw into a loss. One of Davis's loudest critics was former IBF, WBC, and WBO lightweight champion George Kambosos Jr. The Australian fighter has had a long-standing rivalry with Davis, fueled by mutual disdain. Kambosos has frequently dismissed Davis's competition, and after this fight, he wasted no time in adding fuel to the fire. He just had a draw and lost a lot of stock. Kambosos said in an interview with Fight Hype after a training session for his upcoming fight against Dodd Yordan on March 22nd. What does he do now? Rebuild his career? It was a scathing assessment, but Kambosos wasn't alone in his criticism. Social media erupted with reactions from fans and analysts questioning Davis's performance.
It's exciting. It's motivating because, like I said before, it's an unofficial world title eliminator. If you don't win this fight, you get nothing. You know, where do you go after this? So this is a huge fight. So I prepared.
Davis had built his reputation on being one of boxing's most dangerous knockout artists, a fighter who never let opponents off the hook. But against Roach, that aura had been shaken. He was expected to dominate, yet he struggled. He was expected to finish the fight, yet he went the distance. Even those within his inner circle knew that this wasn't just a bad night, it was a wake-up call. Now the question is, where does Davis go from here? The controversy surrounding the fight isn't over. With the decision under review, there's even a possibility that the draw could be overturned. If that happens, it could mean an official loss on Davis's record, an outcome that would shake his standing in the sport even more. His rivalry with Kambosos may be heating up, but Davis has bigger concerns at the moment. His future is at a crossroads, and the next move he makes could define his legacy. One thing is certain, the boxing world will be watching. Gervonta Davis has built his career on a simple but devastating formula. Bide his time, analyze his opponent's tendencies, then unleash his explosive power when the moment is right. It's a strategy that has worked time and time again, making him one of the most feared finishers in the sport. But on Saturday night, that formula seemed to break down.
As we are in the 6th round, let's see what happens, because the words are being thrown at each other. Let's see if the punches start being thrown, and yes, they do.
Roach refused to follow the script. Unlike many of Davis's past opponents, Roach didn't crumble under pressure. He didn't wilt when the power shots landed. He absorbed the punishment, reset, and continued to fight with confidence and composure. The typical intimidation factor that has so often worked in Davis's favor was non-existent. For perhaps the first time in his career, Davis found himself facing an opponent who wasn't just trying to survive. He was there to win. This wasn't supposed to happen. Before Roach's performance, only one man had ever gone the distance with Davis, Isaac "Pitbull" Cruz. And even in that fight, Davis had been able to make adjustments, using his superior ring IQ to outmaneuver Cruz and secure a decision victory. But against Roach, something was missing. Davis looked unsettled. His usual ability to adapt mid-fight never fully clicked into place. Instead of dictating the pace, he found himself reacting. Instead of breaking Roach down, he found himself locked in a battle of wills. While few doubt Davis's talent, there are now murmurs of vulnerability, questions that didn't exist before. Has the blueprint to beat him been revealed? Is he too reliant on his power? And most importantly, can he adjust if his usual game plan doesn't work? Fans and analysts alike are eager to see how Davis responds.
Can you describe what the feeling was like in the ring? And was it to get the towel out, to get the burn out of your eyes, or what was going on? And
I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning.
The most pressing question is whether he will push for an immediate rematch. If a rematch happens, the dynamic could change entirely. Roach, now armed with the confidence of knowing he can stand toe-to-toe with Davis, might approach the fight with even greater aggression. But confidence can be a double-edged sword. If Roach enters the rematch expecting the same fight, he may find himself walking into a completely different version of Davis, one who has learned from his mistakes and is more dangerous than ever. Ford, Davis's longtime trainer, remains calm amid the speculation. He does his own thing, runs his own race, Ford told reporters. But the fans see what's happening. Davis's ring IQ has long been underrated. His ability to process information in real time, to download his opponent's patterns and exploit weaknesses, has been one of his greatest strengths. But against Roach, that ability seemed to stall. The adjustments never came. The dominance never arrived. Meanwhile, Roach has been basking in the praise from fans and fellow fighters alike. Even Shakur Stevenson, a man many consider one of the most skilled boxers in the sport today,
I think he got overconfident. I think he was thinking Lamont wasn't that good. I told everybody how the fight was going to go. The fight went exactly how I said. Exactly.
Notice, Stevenson went as far as to offer Roach a fight, a move that speaks volumes about how much respect Roach has gained overnight. But the biggest fight on the table remains the rematch. Roach has made people question whether Tank Davis is truly unbeatable. That alone is enough to guarantee a massive payday if the two meet again. Promoter Eddie Hearn has also weighed in on the situation, offering his take on the controversy surrounding the fight's result. I don't think the New York State Athletic Commission will overturn the result, Hearn told Fight Hype, but I do expect a rematch to happen. The boxing world now waits for Davis's next move. Will he demand immediate revenge? Will he take time to regroup and face a different opponent first? Or will Roach, the man who wasn't supposed to stand a chance, become the first to officially hand Gervonta Davis a loss? One thing is certain, Davis is at a crossroads, and whatever decision he makes next will define the next chapter of his career. Davis and Roach's fight may have ended in a draw, but the real battle is just beginning, this time outside the ring. The 9th round incident, where Davis voluntarily took a knee without a knockdown being called, has sparked heated debate among fans, analysts, and even boxing insiders.
And you can get knocked out like that, so I'd rather take the knee than, but I didn't really know that you can get disqualified for all that, or when you start counting, I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know.
Now, with Roach's legal team officially appealing the result, the entire outcome of the fight hangs in the balance. According to reports from veteran boxing journalist Dan Raphael of Fight Freaks Unite, Roach's camp has formally requested the New York State Athletic Commission, NYSAC, to review the controversial moment. Their appeal seeks to have the decision overturned, either awarding Roach the victory outright or at least recognizing the 9th round incident as a legitimate knockdown. Some even argue that Davis should have been disqualified, given that a fighter voluntarily taking a knee without a foul being committed is often interpreted as an inability to continue. The appeal process is rarely straightforward, and history suggests that commissions are hesitant to alter official results unless there is undeniable proof of an error or foul play. Still, the fact that Roach's team has taken legal action shows how strongly they believe the ruling cost their fighter a rightful win. Promoter Eddie Hearn has acknowledged the controversy, but remains skeptical that the commission will ultimately change the decision. Honestly, I think it's more of a warning than anything, Hearn told Fight Hype. It's a bizarre situation, but not entirely shocking.
Honestly, I haven't watched the fight. We had a show that night. I haven't watched the full fight. One thing that's kind of baffling is that it wasn't a knockdown. I mean, look, he wasn't hurt. There's no doubt about that. But if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down...
A lot of people in boxing knew this would be a tough fight. Roach might not be a huge name, but he's a serious fighter, and he proved that. With the result now under review, many are wondering whether the commission has the power to order an immediate rematch. Hearn doesn't believe that's within their jurisdiction. I don't think they can force it, he explained. That decision is really up to the WBA. Since they oversee the lightweight title, the commission can review the result, but they don't have the authority to mandate a rematch. Despite this, Hearn remains confident that Davis and Roach will run it back sooner rather than later. Everything I'm hearing suggests the rematch is already in motion, he said. I think it's pretty much done. There's too much demand for it now. The fans want it, the networks want it, and honestly, I think both fighters know it has to happen. One of the key points of controversy remains Davis's decision to take a knee in the 9th round. While he wasn't visibly hurt, it was an unusual moment, one that many believe should have been scored as a knockdown. If you take a knee while punches are being thrown, it has to be ruled a knockdown, Hearn said. I've heard people say Davis should have been disqualified, but I don't buy that. It wasn't intentional, and he got back up right away. But it's still a bizarre situation that needs to be addressed.
Whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, oh, that, you know, he should be disqualified, he went back to the corner, I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning.
This incident has only added to the questions surrounding Davis's performance. Was he feeling the pressure? Did he miscalculate the situation? Or was there a deeper issue, fatigue, injury, or something else entirely, that caused him to make such an uncharacteristic decision? Whatever the case, the controversy has given Roach a new level of leverage. Instead of being viewed as just another challenger, he is now at the center of one of the biggest stories in boxing. And if the rematch does happen, the stakes will be even higher. For Davis, it's a chance to silence the critics, reclaim his aura of dominance, and prove that this was nothing more than an off night. For Roach, it's an opportunity to finish what he started, to turn a draw into a decisive victory, and officially hand Gervonta Davis his first career loss. The boxing world now waits for the next move. Will the appeal succeed? Will the rematch be announced? And most importantly, if Davis and Roach step into the ring again, who will emerge victorious? One thing is certain, this rivalry is far from over. The New York State Athletic Commission's review remains ongoing, with no final verdict announced yet. While official appeals are rarely granted, the unusual circumstances surrounding this fight have added pressure on the commission to provide a thorough review. The boxing world waits with bated breath, wondering if this could be one of those rare moments where a ruling is overturned.
But it's a bit of a bizarre situation. For me, like, there was a lot of people in boxing that were saying that this is a really tough fight. Like, Lamont Roach is a serious fighter. I said it might not be the biggest profile fight, but it's actually quite a tough fight. And Shakur said to me, like, even the day before, I'm telling you, he's going to have big trouble tomorrow night. And I just feel like hopefully this could be the little something that gives Gervonta a little wake-up call to take him back to the mindset of maybe where he was.
For Lamont Roach, the outcome of this investigation could mean the difference between being recognized as a world champion and being left with nothing but frustration. In the immediate aftermath of Saturday's pay-per-view event in Brooklyn, Roach was forced to accept a draw, a result that many, including his team, believe was unjust. That missed knockdown call in the 9th round might have cost him the WBA lightweight title, and, more importantly, what would have been the defining moment of his career. Instead of celebrating the biggest victory of his life, he was left arguing his case in a press conference, while Davis escaped without an official loss. Roach, once seen as a good but unremarkable fighter in the division, has now forced his way into the spotlight. His performance against Davis wasn't just impressive, it was career-altering. Before the fight, few gave him a chance. The odds were stacked heavily against him, with Davis entering as a minus 1,600 favorite, a sign of how little most people expected from Roach. But the Washington, D.C. native refused to back down. He walked into the ring with confidence, executed a near-flawless game plan, and did what no one else had done before. He stopped Gervonta Davis from dominating. By the time the final bell rang, there was no clear winner in the eyes of the judges, but in the eyes of many fans and analysts, Roach had already won. He had defied expectations, outworked one of the most feared punchers in the sport, and handed Davis the first blemish on his professional record.
I know something funny. When we was talking in like the 12th round, I think the 12th or 11th, we was talking shit, right? But he like, you ain't gonna win.
Yet, for all the talk about Roach's remarkable performance, one question looms even larger. What was going on with Davis? This wasn't just a competitive fight. This was a version of Gervonta Davis that nobody recognized. The man who had built a reputation for knocking out opponents with surgical precision suddenly looked hesitant, frustrated, and at times, unsure of himself. Before the fight, Davis had exuded his usual confidence, brushing off Roach as just another opponent. His camp had no apparent concerns, and the general belief was that Roach wouldn't last the distance. But from the opening bell, it was clear that something was off. Davis wasn't dictating the pace the way he usually does. His signature explosiveness wasn't there. Instead, he found himself in a chess match with an opponent who refused to fold. The most concerning aspect wasn't just his struggle in the ring. It was his behavior before, during, and after the fight.
I said, shit, why not? What you talking about? He like, they ain't gonna give it to you. I said, oh, is that right? So, you know.
For the first time in his career, the composure that had defined Davis inside the ring was cracking. His corner was chaotic, with Calvin Ford struggling to get through to his fighter. Davis repeatedly ignored instructions, questioned his team, and even raised his voice at Ford, demanding that he be the one to dictate the fight. This was not the disciplined, patient fighter fans were used to seeing. Then came the moment that sent shockwaves through the boxing world, the 9th round knee. Davis voluntarily took a knee, a move almost unheard of for a fighter of his caliber, especially in a non-foul situation. He wasn't visibly hurt, yet he chose to go down, seemingly in a moment of confusion or frustration. The referee, Steve Willis, didn't call it a knockdown, but the footage tells a different story. Roach was pressing forward, throwing punches, and Davis went down under his own decision. If the rules had been applied strictly, it should have been ruled a knockdown, which could have swung the fight in Roach's favor. Why did Davis take a knee? Was it fatigue? Was he struggling with something internally? Or was it simply a lapse in judgment? His performance in the final rounds did little to clear up those questions. Instead of rallying back with his signature power and killer instinct, he seemed content to cruise to the final bell. That's not the Gervonta Davis that fans have come to know. That's not the fighter who has been called the most dangerous puncher in the lightweight division. After the fight, Davis's demeanor raised even more eyebrows. He was quiet, reserved, not the usual brash, outspoken star that fans are used to seeing. He didn't make excuses, but he also didn't seem like a man eager to prove himself.
That's how boxing works. It's sad to say, that's how boxing works. I'm not like totally upset. I figured
in a rematch. So what does this all mean for his future? If the commission overturns the result and awards Roach the win, Davis will officially suffer his first professional loss. That would change everything. His aura of invincibility would be gone, and his road to redemption would become even steeper. If the result stands as a draw, the expectation will be for an immediate rematch. Davis would be under enormous pressure to prove that this was just an off night, that he is still the dominant force in the division. But perhaps the biggest concern is the psychological impact of this fight. Davis has always relied on his supreme confidence, his belief that no one can withstand his power. Now, for the first time, that belief has been shaken. If he steps into a rematch with even a sliver of doubt, it could spell disaster. Meanwhile, Roach has nothing to lose. He has already done what no one thought possible. He stood his ground against Gervonta Davis and walked away without a loss. If he gets another shot, he'll enter the ring with even more confidence, knowing that he can hurt Davis, knowing that he can take his best shots, and knowing that he can outbox him.
The superstar, you won't get too much on paper. But shit, I damn sure thought I had it. Especially when they announced the score for him. I was like, oh, they gonna give me a split decision win. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh shit, here it go.
Rematch, if it happens, will be the most pivotal fight of Davis's career. A dominant win would restore his reputation. A loss, however, could permanently change his trajectory. The boxing world now watches and waits. Will the commission intervene? Will Davis and Roach face off again? And if they do, will the world finally see the true Gervonta Davis? Or has his time at the top already begun to slip away? One thing is for sure, this story is far from over. Alright guys, for the best updates on boxing news, moments, events, and actions, subscribe to Knockout Updates and turn on notifications to never miss out on quality content, and check out our other videos. Until next time, peace out.